Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a good video for you today. This video is going to be about the Miami Federal Detention Center that I was in, and I was in it within the first year and a half it was open, and what is going on with it right now, and the havoc it is reaping on downtown Miami as we speak. So you're gonna hear me review that. Before I get started, please check me out on YouTube member programs, Patreon, Discord. Check out the merch. Gangster Redemption, the book is going crazy. Our cigars. Check them out, man. Loving it. Loving all your support. Loving everything we're doing. Now we're going to jump into this video. I saw on the news right now, it's called the Federal Detention Center. It's downtown Miami. It's right outside Overton. I was there in 1996 when I was arrested. And when I was arrested, that's where they took it. It only opened in 1995. What is happening is they built condos around this whole place. It used to be a pretty bad area. And I'm not sure if that's why the federal government put the Federal Detention Center down there. But it was in a pretty bad area. Like everything else, whether it's New York City or Miami, things change. That real estate right around there is mega money. They have apartments, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments in 50-story buildings right around the detention center, and that detention center is wreaking havoc. My suggestion, fucking sell it, government. Get the money, because you could put a lot of good condos in there. And I don't mean the condos I went to, everybody. I'm talking real condos. But let's look at what is going on in the Federal Detention Center right in Miami, my hometown.
People living in a downtown Miami high-rise say they've been robbed of their relaxation.
The building sits in the shadow over the Federal Detention Center, and they say their incarcerated neighbors are disturbing the peace.
Their incarcerated neighbors? What kind of shit is that? I mean, do you really consider them your neighbors? Do you want them there? I don't think anybody does, but it is a necessity. It is a literally all-level security prison. You have minimum security inmates and you have maximum security inmates at that facility. It is called the detention center, and they have I think they had over 13 stories, 13 floors, and every floor. I was on 7 East in that building until I was taken away and put on an airplane and headed up to New York area and Pennsylvania, where my last stop. But they gave me what they called diesel therapy, where they threw me on a plane, put me in handcuffs, didn't tell me where I was going, got me off the plane in Rhode Island, and then bussed me down from Rhode Island to 6th and Market, which is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I had my cases, what they call Rule 20 in the law. Why did they do that? Just to fuck with me, because they didn't have to do that. The plane lands in actually New Jersey. It also lands in Pennsylvania, so they could have dropped me off at any one of those places, but no, they decided to get me off in Rhode Island and then bust me down, put me in county jails for a few nights just to throw a lesson to me, to show me what they can do. And that is our federal government at work. Don't think it doesn't happen. It happens every day. Let's continue on this video.
And inside you can see the floor plans, of course, that they talk about. They talk about being very close to the Metro Mover and having access to the museums nearby, the American Airlines Arena just a couple of blocks away.
When I saw that on TV, I thought, wow, is this the detention center? They got access. When I was in the detention center, they used to play, the Miami Heat played right there at the stadium. So we used to go, we used to literally look out. See, they don't have full windows in this place. They have windows that are probably 8 inches wide, so you couldn't fit through them. And they're long, and it's not a window either. It can't be open. It's a thick piece of plexiglass you can't open, obviously. But we used to go and look down, and you'd look down and see the people coming out of the stadium with the Miami Heat. Again, that was in Overtown. It was a bad area at that time. You also have what they call a rec deck. And this is where the problems are happening in the prison. How they give recreation in a detention center. By law, they're supposed to give 1 hour of recreation 5 days a week. Do they? No. In fact, they do not have to feed you 3 times a day. That's in law. They have to feed you twice a day, but they don't have to feed you 3 times a day. They don't have to give you recreation, although it is a policy, which your policy comes from your Code of Federal Regulations, which actually comes down from laws that are passed by Congress, but they don't do it. And they use the great phrase of, for the safe and orderly running of the institution, we had to cancel recreation. And that could be because they were short-staffed. It could be because of weather. That's what they say all the time. Now, what do they normally do? They'll just say, fuck you. They're not going to give you rec. Now, in the detention center, since this really kind of gets me a little bit mad, because everybody in that detention center is not a convicted felon. You are arrested. In America, you are presumed to be innocent until found guilty by a jury of your peers, or a guilty verdict, or a plea deal. Well, a lot of the people in that jail are in the process of going through their case. So technically, they're innocent. They're treated as if they were a criminal already, which I always said is wrong, and I think they should have a different setup how they treat people. But they have what they call a piece of concrete. Now they'll have it all screened in, and there'll be a basketball court out there. And since it has screen on the top, not above, just up on an area. So picture a big room, and with about 8 feet of screen that's going across, where you can't even look out if you're standing. You'd have to climb the fence to look out. And you can't get out. It's all totally screened in, but it gives you fresh air. And that's what the law states about fresh air and having to get what they call recreation. Obviously, you're really not getting recreation in most places if you're in the hole or in, they call it, the SHU, Special Housing Unit. They will give you recreation in a dog cage, literally a 10 by 20 cage. It's kind of disgusting, and it makes me think of how we treat human beings is just terrible, but it does happen. So what happens here is they put you and they let you have your recreation when the facility is open. I was on 7 East, and they're all the same. Every floor is the same. And what happens is they'll have that open at times. And so you can go out there. They're going to let you out of your cell during the day. They'll have all meals of chow served in the unit. This is, again, not a prison. This is a federal detention center. What they do is they let people go out on that rec deck, they call it, and the people are howling and screaming, and these inmates are in there going crazy, wreaking havoc on all the neighbors. Listen, if you rent a place or you buy a place right next to a federal prison, I don't know how smart that is or what you were told. Maybe you have recourse to get money back if you want it out of there, because they did not disclose that what goes on there. There is a legal challenge there, I'm sure, of some sort. Especially when you're paying $2,500, $2,700 for a 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Miami. At this point, there is recourse that could be done, but the prison can do a few things as well. And I'll talk about that here in a minute.
But what this brochure does not talk about when it comes to living here are the sometimes very noisy and rowdy next door neighbors.
Now, I want to go back and I want to show you this. I was just telling you about the windows. Look right there. You could see the size and shape of those windows. Now, the people are not screaming from there. So this is kind of somewhere where they're really giving you a false look of the prison. They're going to show you the rec side of this, but this is the front side where you can't, this is where we used to look out and just look down, and that's, you realize where you are when you're doing that.
But this particular amenity was very much unanticipated.
Okay, you did see the women sitting there. I mean, obviously, these ladies are on the 15th floor of a luxury apartment, and they're right next to it. Now, you could see, look at what they're next to, everybody. Look straight where I'm showing you that picture. That picture I'm showing you, and there's a girl right there. And in those windows, there's men. And I can guarantee you those men are jacking their dicks, because that's what they do. That's just normal shit, and that's what they're doing.
There was inmates literally hanging off of the wire windows there.
That is what I was saying. Do you see where that guy is hanging up? That whole rec deck goes from that bottom, where you can see out, but you can't look. That top is a screen you're looking at, everybody. Now, that's where that guy is sitting up high on that, or he climbed that fence to scream out. Now, obviously, how does he get away with that? Because the prison itself, what does it do? It doesn't monitor the inmates as it should, but, you know, I can't almost blame them for not. I mean, at what point are you telling a person you doesn't have free speech?
Now, it's hard to make out what the inmates are yelling, but the whistling and the intended targets are very clear.
Now, they could be whistling and screaming and not be able to see them, and you'll hear them. That's just a bunch of people on the deck. And how the guards could stop that? There are a number of ways that can be stopped. They could not give rec at that area. If they hear somebody, they close it down. They might. But you get new people coming and going daily. This is a federal detention center. This is not a permanent prison. So you're going to get people coming and going at all times of the night and day, and they don't know the rules. This would be a pretty hard thing to do, except, obviously, make this into a different kind of facility than a federal detention center.
Downtown Fifth's 2 towers boast more than 1,000 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units stacked 52 floors high.
Did you hear that? 1,000 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units stacked 50 stories high, surrounded by the federal detention center. Well, they are surrounding the federal detention center. The builders of those facilities weren't there when I was there. I know the area well to this day, and I understand exactly what is going on. Listen, you know, we are incarcerating so many people, and there are so many people in that detention center who probably don't belong there. And I'm talking about drug dealers, low-level drug dealers, people who could be put out on bail and stuff of that nature. But our criminal justice system is broke so badly that at this point, I don't know if they want to fix it. But at this point, I think the developers should have to be held accountable for not letting people know what goes on. This howling and hooting is not just started, everybody. It didn't. And I understand it from both ends. Do I think, would I do that? No, I'm not going to get hoarse for anybody. I never did that anyway. I don't need to howl at a person or anything to let them know that I appreciate whatever they look like. But there are people who do, and I'm not going to judge anyone anyway. But let's keep it going.
The federal detention center right across the street has been housing men and women of all security levels since 1995.
Yes, 1995 they've been housing people. I went there in 1996. I ended up being transferred out of that place, taken at 1 o'clock in the morning, literally kidnapped, put on an airplane, and taken around the country, and then dropped off at Rhode Island to be bused. And that's after going to Oklahoma, which is a federal detention center. Actually, when I was in there, the detention center wasn't even there in Oklahoma Federal Transportation. We used to go to El Reno. That was another part of the federal system at that point.
In a statement, a spokesperson writes, "The issue presented in the video is under investigation, and we are actively pursuing a solution that both addresses the concern of the public and is in accordance with American Correctional Association guidelines."
First of all, that's the biggest bullshit statement the government can give, or the BOP, and they always say that. Well, it's under investigation. I remember being under investigation for many years. And what they were talking, American Correctional Association, that's the ACA. And it's the biggest bullshit organization in the world. It's something that they know is coming, and they don't do anything about it. If you want a real oversight committee in any of these federal institutions, all you have to do is bring people like myself in there who know how the system works and could tell people how the system works. And then when we tell people how the system works, we could fix the system. I'm not out to just get the government, but I think I can make the federal prison system and any prison system a lot better, because I know what's real and what's not real. And the government's not going to give you that. Guards are not going to give you that. And wardens don't want to make it's defeating the purpose. They don't want to make themselves look bad. So how are they going to correct themselves? It's like police investigating themselves. Internal Affairs investigating a police shooting. Well, they're not going to put their own people in trouble. I mean, that just makes no sense. You have to have a different or an outside agency or somebody else come in to fix a problem. This problem, they said, they're looking for a solution. What's the solution? They're going to start putting people in the hole? They're going to start abusing people's rights or whatever their rights are. Again, these people a lot of them are not convicted. Hear me out. Do not have a conviction. So why are we treating them like animals to begin with? I think one of the solutions is going to be they're going to put permanent people in those places where they are adjacent to that pool area. Meaning they have what they call in a federal detention center cadre. The cadre in that prison is the prisoners who are convicted, who work in that facility to maintain that facility, to feed the other inmates. They are called cadre, or they work there. So they'll have people who clean the outside, who clean the decks, who do the food service, who do maintenance, what they call CMS of the facility. Those inmates will probably be housed along that pool area. Now, are you talking about more people who've been incarcerated now maybe for 5 years and now they get to look at women sitting down there with a bikini on? I don't know. Can the management companies put a wall or a screen of some sort that inmates cannot look in to that pool? They could probably do something like that, and it would cost X amount of dollars. They have almost like one-way glass, but would it prevent? I don't know. What I think they will do is another thing as well, is they will put kind of one-way glass on the windows that are right there. See, what they're talking about is the yelling. I get that part, but did you know how many inmates are in those small square windows? Believe me, showing their penises, doing the crazy shit. It just happens. I've seen it 100 times. They do that. So they could put a one-way glass from the outside so you cannot look out. You cannot. They could also cover that top with one-way glass that you could still get the fresh air, because that's what they need for by law. So again, that's going to cost the Federal Bureau of Prisons some money. How are they going to do that? Who's going to pay for that? Taxpayers? Or is the developer going to pay for it? I don't know. That's a great question. I just think there are solutions that are not that difficult to do. But you're talking about the Bureau of Prisons and you're talking about the federal government. Not the fucking sharpest tools in the shed, people. Just let's be honest about that. Let's hear what they say at the end here.
I mean, we did reach out to the city because we wanted to see if anywhere in the development portfolio, while this site was being developed, before it was built, did any of this come up? Were there any red flags or concerns raised? We're waiting to get those records back. In the meantime, here's the real gag. I learned that this place behind me is 98% occupied.
Well, he is talking about 98% occupied as the federal prison system. It is well probably above that. Second, the city can't tell the federal government anything, period. It's there. They can bitch, they can complain, they can do whatever they want. They really have no recourse. The only recourse I see in this whole incident is the city did mention something to the developer that they had to give a written notice to anybody trying to rent a condo or something, that there could be rowdiness or something of that nature. That's the only thing. And then the person would have what they call recourse, maybe get his deposit back, maybe be able to get rid of it. And if they're condos, I don't know if any of them are condos. If they are sold condos, then you might have another thing with the realtor who has selling you something like that. Just like a realtor can't sell you a house if there was a murder in that house without disclosing that there was a murder or a dead body in that house. They have to do that by law. So there are some solutions. The easiest solution is to put some things over these windows, make it where these people can't get up there and howl and wake, because they don't know who's out there. You'll still get cat calls. You're going to do that because people are wacko, and that's not going to change anyway. Well, you just heard about a downtown facility in a city with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and it just so happens to be a prison that I was in. With that said, everybody, I hope you like it. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. Check out all the stuff below. You know I'm going to answer your comments. Have a great day. Stay safe. I don't want to see you in a federal prison. You all know that. Make good choices, everybody. A lot of good content coming. Stay tuned. Tell a friend. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.